Please tell us where you are listening from, and remember to like, share, and give us a follow. We are trying to improve our skills and create more and exciting new stories. The Ashen Seal of Whitehall, a Detective Kelsom Cholerh. Mystery, narrated by Dr. Arthur Wenton. Prologue. The Fog That Knows Too Much. London, in the autumn of 1887, was a city half submerged in its own breath. The fog rolled in as though summoned by Parliament itself, thick and yellowed by coal fires, swallowing the lamps along the Strand and muffling even the clatter of hoofbeats. It was the sort of night when secrets passed unnoticed and men of ill intent moved more freely than constables. I was in my lodgings at 442 Baxter Street, seated near the hearth with a medical journal drooping in my hands, when the case of Sir Reginald Ashcombe insinuated itself into my life and changed it in ways I could not have foreseen. The rooms I shared with my friend and mentor in mystery, Mr. Kelsom Cholerh, were rarely quiet for long. He possessed a mind that refused stillness and a temperament that thrived on intellectual storms. He often paced, muttered to himself, ran chemical experiments on the windowsill, and, when particularly pensive, tuned and played his cello, coaxing out deep, resonant notes that vibrated through the floorboards and into one's very bones. On this night, however, the instrument rested in its corner. Cholerh lay stretched across the sofa, pipe in hand, eyes half-lidded, appearing to do nothing at all. I had long since learned that this state was merely the outward expression of an inward whirlwind. Our landlady, Mrs. Penfold, burst in with such force that the door rebounded off the wall. "Doctor, Mr. Cholerh, there's a gentleman downstairs, and I swear he's fit to faint. Says he must see you at once, sir. Something about the Queen's peace being in peril." Cholerh's eyes opened. "At this hour? Then something has shaken Whitehall." He rose, tapped his pipe against the mantel, and nodded. "Send him up, Mrs. Penfold." Moments later, a tall, rigid man with a rain-spattered overcoat entered, his face pale beneath the gaslight. "Mr. Cholerh?" he asked, voice taut. Cholerh bowed slightly. "You have come from Whitehall, Home Office specifically. The matter is urgent. Life or reputation, or both, hang in the balance." The man blinked. "How do you—" "Please, sir," Cholerh said quietly. "You are overwrought. Speak plainly." The man swallowed. "My name is Edmund Pendrick, Under-Secretary of the Home Office." He steadied himself. "And I fear a great man has been murdered." Cholerh leaned forward. "Whom?" Pendrick exhaled a long, broken breath. "Sir Reginald Ashcombe is dead." And just like that, the fog outside seemed to press harder against the windows. Act 1. The dead man in the locked office. Scene 1. A confidential death. Sir Reginald Ashcombe was a name known to every educated Londoner. A statesman of rare sobriety and principle, the permanent Under-Secretary oversaw matters of domestic security and sensitive international negotiations. He was, in short, a man whose untimely death could unseat more than one minister. "We found him in his private office," Pendrick said. "Door locked from within, window sealed, no sign of struggle, a document partly burned in the fireplace. And—" his voice faltered. "There was ash upon his lips." "Poison," Cholerh murmured. "The surgeon suspects as much," Pendrick whispered, "though no vial or substance was found. Nothing disturbed except the draft of a confidential accord with Russia, an agreement that could, if mishandled, imperil diplomatic relations. Cholerh's expression sharpened. A locked room, a critical document burned, ash on the lips of a dead official. Yes, I see why you came. He reached for his coat. Wenton, fetch yours. The fog keeps its counsel, but men rarely do. Act 2. The shadow grows darker. Scene 1. Back to 442. A Baxter Street. We returned to our rooms, where Cholerh collected a thin scraping from the brass seal and placed it beneath his microscope. "Observe the crystals among the ash," he said. "Not natural soot. A compound, one that, when moistened, could carry a deadly substance into the bloodstream." "You mean," I whispered, "Sir Reginald poisoned himself by touching the seal?" "Not himself," Cholerh said softly. "Someone else prepared the trap." Scene 2. Colonel Harrow's warning. At the Albion Club the next afternoon, Colonel Tobias Harrow confirmed Sir Reginald had been nervous the night before. "Dreaded his meeting with a Russian attaché," Harrow said. "Name of Vasily Orlov, smooth fellow, too smooth." "And dangerous?" Cholerh asked. Harrow's jaw tightened. "A snake in silk." Scene 3. The snake in silk. At a Kensington salon we met Orlov. Tall, immaculate, charm cultivated like a weapon. "Sir Reginald was inconvenient," Orlov said. "But his death, not ours." When Cholerh pushed, Orlov leaned in, voice velvet and poison. "Take care, Mr. Cholerh. London is full of shadows. Some swallow men whole." That night, as we walked home, a brick smashed against the pavement inches from us. Cholerh smiled faintly. "A warning shot, Wenton. We press the right buttons." Act 3. Motives in ash and ink. Scene 1. The Clerk's Secret. James Brier arrived at Baxter Street the next morning, pale and trembling. "I overheard Sir Reginald arguing with someone," he said. "An Englishman, not foreign, threatened to expose something, unless he signed the treaty's harshest clauses." Cholerh nodded. "A traitor within Whitehall. The plot thickens." Scene 2. Reconstruction of a death. Back at Whitehall that evening, Cholerh reenacted Sir Reginald's final moments. He mimicked the motion of sealing a document, then touching his lip absent-mindedly. "The poison was delivered exactly here," he murmured. "And the burned treaty?" I asked. Someone returned to destroy evidence. Panic, not purpose. A guilty conscience struggles with fire. Scene 3. Letters from L. Among the late official's personal papers lay 3 letters from a widow signed L, harmless on the surface, but ripe for scandal if twisted. "Leverage," Cholerh whispered. "Someone used these to pressure Sir Reginald, yet he resisted." He drew a long note across his cello, the sound vibrating through the room. "Tomorrow, Wenton, we set a snare." Act 4. The Sealed Snare. Scene 1. The Bait. We planted a rumour. A second intact treaty draft had been found, along with a ledger naming corrupt officials. We left a sealed envelope containing blank papers in a side office. Then we waited. Late into the night, footsteps approached. A key turned. The door opened. Inspector Garrick leapt forward with his lantern. "Stand where you are," The intruder froze. It was Mr. Halberd, the secretary. Scene 2. The breaking of Halberd. Halberd collapsed. "I didn't mean for him to die," he sobbed. I mishandled accounts. They threatened me. Orlov's man, an English lawyer acting for them, said he'd expose my theft if I didn't help push the treaty." Tears streamed down his face. "They gave me a powder, said it would merely weaken him. I put it on the seal. When I returned, he was dead." "And you burned the treaty?" I asked. Halberd nodded miserably. "I panicked." Cholerh stared at him, not with anger, but with cold, sorrowful clarity. "You did not kill out of hatred," he said softly. "You killed out of fear. That is the most dangerous motive of all." Act 5. Ashes and Aftermath. Scene 1. The Riddle Unveiled. Pendrick returned the next day, stricken. "So it was one of our own." "And a foreign agent behind him," Cholerh added. "An English intermediary doing Russia's bidding, not Orlov directly. He rarely soils his gloves." Pendrick nodded grimly. "We will root this out." Scene 2. The detective and his cello. Weeks later, life at Baxter Street settled again into its odd rhythms. Sir Reginald was buried with honours. The newspapers said heart failure. The truth, poison, coercion, treachery was tucked away behind polished speeches and parliamentary whispers. But Cholerh was quiet for days afterward. Not melancholy, thoughtful. One evening he drew his cello close and played a slow, sombre melody, notes rising like laments from a cathedral. "Sir Reginald died for principle," he said at last. "A rare man, Wenton, and his courage nearly vanished beneath the machinery of state." He rested the bow. "Our task, yours and mine, is to see that such truths are not lost forever in the fog." Outside, the lamps flickered. The city breathed its endless secrets. And somewhere in London, another shadow waited for the man who could read the world as others read a newspaper. Mr. Kelsom Cholerh. This has been a Kelsom Cholerh short story, brought to you by Orbinwood Media. Please like, follow and share. Goodbye for now, until next time.